you call it, the personality or whatever she changes. Sorry, in Malaya was that day. Now, this is me, myself. If my children were missing in the woods, or if somebody... Now listen to the voice change right now. She just talked about Malaya, of course, but listen now when she talks about her children. And her children are Justin and Daniel. That is whom she is referring to now. You're going to hear a switch, a switch in tone. And she's going to get deep. He has taken them. I would be so hysterical. I would be running around, screaming and hollering. Yeah, but the thing is that your 34 and 33-year-old sons are pretty, they're not going to get lost in the woods. Trust me. Looking everywhere, crying. Just look. She is not imagining her grown sons being lost in the woods. They know the woods inside and out. They are, I mean, this is not even on anybody's radar. But what exactly is she thinking about here? Like a normal person would be, that a mother. You can't. Of course, she's talking about Malaya is not a normal person, or Malaya. She doesn't accuse Malaya directly. Even though there was one part where she said, I think the answers are with her or something like that, but she is very careful not to directly accuse her. But she thinks she's going to be able and smart enough to make you, the general public, conclude from her, what should you call it, hints or her innuendos, that maybe Malaya has something to do with it, huh? Let's lay off of Daniel. That's a good idea, right? The truth will get her nowhere. The truth is her enemy. She wants you to be blinded by something else, sidetracked away from the truth. So she needs something else. And she needs you to look at Malaya in a very negative light. And unfortunately, a lot of people, the moment they don't like somebody, this person becomes guilty to them, right? And that's the types of people she probably has been around her whole life. And that's what she expects from the general public. So the reaction, the backfiring, everything that's been going on here is something that she didn't expect. She was not ready for that. She probably thought, hey, I'm doing pretty well here. I got my story straight, and, Malaya wasn't crying. Must be that, it's pretty obvious that people will think that she did something. But while you're trying so hard to present yourself in a certain light, that effort is being recognized for what it truly is. And you're giving yourself away. Now listen to what she's saying when it comes to her sons. Oh, and by the way, did you miss it before? When she said that Daniel and Justin, I thought they were going to be all right? Okay, well, anyway. Tell me that you carry a child for 9 months and something happens to them, that you're not going to get hysterical and you're not going to be crying and screaming and everything. Well, tell me. I would be. And another thing, I'm going to tell you something. Because Malaya already processed the passing of the kids. She's processed it quickly. as did the McCains with Madeleine. Very quickly, they processed it and it became mind over matter. And it was an accident in that case with Madeleine McCain. Now, if something happened to my children, my boys, I would be so hysterical, even though they're 34 and 33. What could possibly happen now? Okay, you're talking about, I don't feel safe on my property. But why would something happen to both of your boys? What is something that they both may have done that could have consequences? 33. I would still be hysterical if something happened to them. Even though they're growing up. Mama will always be a part of their lives. No matter how old they are. And Mama feels for those kids. I don't care if my kid, if I'm 85 years old and my kid is 60-some years old. How much time do you think Daniel and Justin would get in prison, allegedly? What exactly, why is the number going through her mind? How old is she now, 60? If you're 85, that would be 25 years. 25 years in prison, is that what you're thinking about? I am still going to worry about my children. And I am still going to cry for my children. She's planning on doing it. I'm still going to cry for my children. By the time she's 85, I believe that her concern and her fear, aside from wanting to see her grandchildren, but by the way, when she prioritizes the dog before the grandchildren linguistically, was she that great of a grandmother? Well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But it is to be noted. It's definitely to be noted. Priority before in a statement was me, my dog, and then the grandchildren came. And last and least were Jack and Lily. What is she? She is thinking about something that there is a very high probability of it happening. It is improbable that Justin and Daniel are going to get lost in the woods, unable to find their way back, and her crying and screaming and being on a rescue mission at the age of 85. That is not something that will enter her mind. That will not something that will appear anywhere on her radar. But this 25-year number, more or less, yeah. I believe that she sees Daniel in prison up to 25 years from now. She sees that possibility. And did Justin help him? And by the way, some of you have asked me about the potholes. My first reaction was, I think the potholes, the filling in the potholes, the reason for that was because she had to remove tire tracks. Tire tracks from the ATV. Why? Because she told us the ATV hadn't been there for 5 years. Remember? So I believe that Thursday night, when something had happened to the children, the ATV was there. So those of you who wondered about, she was worried that tire tracks from the ATV are going to be seen. So I believe that's when the work began, that she gotten rid of the tracks. And if somebody said in the morning, hey, what's going on down here? Why is it looks like somebody cleaned some tracks? Well, maybe she put gravel over them. Maybe she made a big mess and then made it a little bit. She made these tracks disappear. That's what I believe happened. She told us for 5 years the ATV, and she gave us all of these reasons the ATV had been there, right? Because a neighbor likes to steal. Yeah. But no, this I believe is a strong likelihood. And some of you in the comment section have given me also some very strong other possibilities here. And I always recommend, rather than watching some channels that are not informative, the comment section is, and by the way, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to keep doing my best to go through the comments. And the ones that I highlight are usually the ones where people point out something that I haven't pointed out in my videos, to help create the whole picture here, the big picture. There's only so much time that I have in these videos. And I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to rush through it. So I'm always going to leave certain things out. And sometimes I don't have time to go to it, to get to it later. Because the topic, Julia, you told me that you could talk for 6 hours about the statements from Janie. But I would like to make you realize that unless something else comes up, that is going to be, and we need to prioritize, by the way. The moment that a new statement or something new comes up, and it is more significant than what you have noticed being there from the previous one, do the switch. Move right there. As long as there's a straight line from what you've already learned towards what you have just started learning in addition to that. Prioritize. That's why I always cover the main parts first, even though I don't go into detail. So if you talk about 6 hours, try 40 hours. And I'm that serious. If let's say for a year we don't have any other statements from Janie or anybody involved in the case, right? There's a lot there, people. So her priority, children and grandchildren. In this particular era, in this particular moment, well, she didn't want to talk about her sons too much. She didn't want people to know that she's worried about them and what she's worried about. So she introduced not being able to see the grandchildren, right? Yeah, it makes sense. People can relate to that, right? This is not normal, except that it is. When you realize why this woman is now crying for the possibility of her sons, something happening to them. So you just look at what I've seen and what you've seen on the tape of Malaya's interview. Yeah, Malaya, your hatred towards Malaya and her two children, Jack and Lily, is, we're getting tired of it. We already know you hated Jack and Lily. That's what you have made very, very clear in your statements. You left no doubt. You're bashing them even though they are missing. This is Kathy Bowersock style. And I've said it before. What do they have in common? Chris Watts, Brian Laundrie, Christopher Proudfoot, and Daniel Martell, the mothers. Brian Laundrie's mother hated Gabby Petito. Chris Watts's mother hated his wife. Kathy Bowersox hated Sebastian. And this woman hated Jack and Lily. And there's something about these unstable mama boys, or narcissistic mama boys, as to use some of you guys' language. Narcissistic mama boys. Yeah, let's use that. Let's put the narcissism term to a good use. Let's call them narcissistic mama boys, who feel permitted to do whatever wrong may please their mamas. Chris Watts, do you think if his mother had said to him, listen, you need to, I know maybe you don't have, marriage is not always easy, but you need to have you need to understand your wife, you need to be, this could have been prevented. And especially in the case of Brian Laundrie, who was extremely disturbed and wanted to kill himself a long time ago. Wish he had done it. But he was going to do it anyways. Wish he would have done it before, he takes somebody with him. And he felt entitled to do that because his mother hated her so much. He felt he had the right to shut her up. She had no right to have a mind of her own and to lecture him in the end. Strangulation usually happens when you want to silence somebody. That could be a child screaming. You silence the child. It could be, in Gabby Petito's case, her telling him something that he couldn't handle hearing. How she really felt about him. How she saw him for what he was. And Chris Foot, hey, I talked about you a long time ago. I've been talking about you for a long time, so I don't think I need to rehash that one. Does that look like a woman? We don't care, you idiot. We don't care. What did your son do? And your other son? And what did you participate in? What did you cover up? That's what we want to hear. What did you know from the very beginning that you have not told us about for 2 damn months? You want to be smart with people? You think you outsmarted everybody? You outsilenced everybody? Really? An idiot will think that. But the eyes of the world are on you. And now you're breaking. Mostly because you know there's something that you could lose your sons over. 60 years old. She's thinking about the age of 85. 25 years imprisonment. That is the possibility she looks at. No, I'm sorry, a 60-year-old woman will not worry about her 30-year-old sons being lost in the forest. And crying and talking about hysterically crying. Yes. That's why you regret that you know you could have prevented what happened. And you talked about, the imaginary, you mixed, you brought up, you created a fabricated story about early in the morning, the kids being in the yard. But experiential memory seeped in. And you told us through that fabrication that you could have prevented everything. And you know you could have, because you put even more pressure on your mama's boy Daniel to keep the kids quiet. It's a constant negative environment. Which is why Jack, probably he saw her, he crossed his arms immediately, and according to her, he said, eh. Well, that was his way of saying, get the hell out of my face. I don't want to hear your voice anymore. Can you imagine how that woman ran around screaming all the time? Malaya, she shut off. You just don't talk to her. And I think that's a good way, actually. Sometimes if you have in-laws you don't get along with, better to avoid them, man, and just be like, you know what, I don't have anything to say. And that's how it's gonna be. It's better than fighting and but you see the kids, they were there. And there was constant pressure there. And the way that she talked about Lily was using her granddaughter's kitchen outside when she wasn't there. And no, the kids were probably never in her trailer because, she kept the dog away from them and she didn't have any use for the kids anyways. Not for Jack and Lily. Would be interesting to hear how her actual grandchildren, are talking about her or what they are thinking about. That would be very, very interesting. So, this, by the way, stuck out to me immediately. How's everybody doing today? All right.
That this is her children. Please answer me that. If there's no more questions, I've pretty well answered everything that I could answer.
Yeah. Pretty well answered everything. So what else is known? Is this his?
How to check if someone's spying on you? Actually, it's pretty simple. If you know.
Just outside the Sullivan home in Lansdowne Station, a single orange ribbon flutters. Behind it,
It wouldn't be the Sullivan home, right? It would be the Mackenzie home now. Or the Martell home.
Poster with the faces of Lily and Jack, smiling. It's been 2.5 months since the two young children disappeared. They were last seen in May and were believed to have wandered into the woods behind their home. A tremendous amount of careful, deliberate investigative work is underway by people here at home and in other parts of Canada. Despite extensive searches on foot, by helicopter, with dogs and drones, crews found nothing. No footprints, no clothing, no trace of where the children may have gone. Right now, there are more than 800 tasks associated to this investigation. The investigation has grown into one of the largest in Nova Scotia RCMP history, with over 600 tips from...
Things are closing in. Daniel.
Across Canada and beyond, and 5,000 video files currently under review. Surveillance cameras, trail cams, doorbell cameras. We did a further request for information in a news release to the public a little bit later in May. Rumors have been swirling ever since the kids went missing, and with so little information being shared, it's only added fuel to the fire, leading many to believe them.
Try not to follow the rumors, but they're getting more grounding, the rumors, because of the fact that the RCP have found nothing.
And while they say the investigation is moving forward under the Missing Persons Act, many in the community feel like they're standing still.
Most people will say to me that the best hope is if somebody did take those little... if those kids were in the woods, I think most people in Victor County now are thinking they would have found something. They would have found a shred of clothes, they would have found anything.
So far, 60 people have been interviewed. Some have undergone polygraph testing, and one item found during the search is now undergoing forensic analysis, including a pink blanket that officers seized on Lansdowne Road, and submitting judicial authorizations to seize and examine materials and devices that may provide information useful to the investigation. Back at the Sullivan home, the orange ribbon remains.
So this is something that, of course, is of great interest to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if Logan Mackenzie And her language was a huge reason that we are now going to see focus on the blanket.